Okay, we should be good to go.
Okay, but all I see right now is Christy and Larry, so I don't see anybody else. Doesn't look like we have am I missing someone?
Pick your view.
Oh,
The
I have to,
gallery.
I think, let me promote Nicole.
Oh, she needs to
She
be
joined
promoted.
from a different, okay.
Did you get it, Vinny?
Yeah, I'm in. I don't see Donna listed as a panelist. Is she here?
I'll text her.
And I no longer see, I see Donna. No, I don't see Maura listed anywhere.
Not back yet.
Okay, I see Maura now.
Yeah, I had trouble getting on, sorry.
Okay. All right, welcome everybody to the regular Board of Trustee meeting for Tuesday, May 25th, 2021. Is there a motion to open the meeting? Trustee Nell, second trustee Sullivan, all in favor? That passes unanimously. For the record, trustee Patino is just joining us just as we're opening the meeting, so we're all here. Let's do the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have on our agenda the way to view the meeting and to participate in the meeting. Those directions are on our website. I'm not going to go over all of the details on that for this particular time. Our first action is a presentation to Molly Rodriguez, the co-founder and co-director of the Dobbs Ferry Food Pantry. Can we promote Molly?
Mayor, we also have a number of, just so you know, volunteers, 10 volunteers from the Dobbs Ferry Food Pantry who are watching
Great.
and honoring Molly. Molly, can you hear us? Oh,
There
you
she
are.
is.
Yes, I
Molly.
can hear.
Welcome,
Hi.
Molly.
Good to see everybody.
It's good to see you. So, in your honor, we have a proclamation, which I'd like to read. I don't know if I could show it, or if Liz, I don't know if we could show it, but it will be mailed to you tomorrow, right, Liz? Yes. I will just, here it is.
There it is.
Wow,
Okay.
that's great.
So we're going to get it out to you. And I'm just going to read a little bit of it, and you can just say a few words, okay, Molly? So let me just read it. Whereas the tradition and strength of a community is in direct relationship to the number of citizens who volunteer their time in service, and whereas Molly Rodriguez has served as co-founder and co-director of the Dobbs Ferry Food Pantry at South Presbyterian Church since 2011, with the utmost dedication and professionalism. And whereas Molly has volunteered numerous hours to respond to the growing demand for food assistance in Dobbs Ferry, Ardsley, Irvington, and Greenberg. And whereas I officially commend Molly for her years of dedicated service to the Dobbs Ferry Food Pantry at South Presbyterian Church, and for all the work she has done serving the hungry in Dobbs Ferry and our neighboring villages. Therefore, be it resolved that on behalf of the Village Board of Trustees and a grateful community, I acknowledge with gratitude the contributions that Molly has made to our village and community, and be it further resolved that through the authority of my office, I do hereby proclaim Wednesday, May 26, 2021, as Molly Rodriguez Day in the village of Dobbs Ferry, and direct that this proclamation be carried throughout the village for people of goodwill to see and know. So Molly, congratulations. Tomorrow's your day. Don't get a parking ticket. And
Can she get a donut at least?
so congratulations and thank you for all that you've done. We really appreciate your dedication to us, and we're going to miss you. So the floor is yours, Molly. What would you
Well,
like-
I don't have much to say. I can't think what to say, but I do want to say that that these 10 years that I've been the director of the food pantry have been such a growth experience for me to see the generosity and the loving kindness of all the people in the river towns and the village and the board of trustees, how everyone has supported this pantry and has stepped up to help us. And it's also been a growth experience to see the amount of need. The pantry was started by Spring Community Partners, and they saw that we think that these river towns are so well off that there is a lot of hunger out there that they recognized in Spring Community Partners, and it was their idea. And they've been behind us all the way, all these 10 years. And this past year, when the population of clients of the pantry just exploded, Spring Community Partners jumped in and they backed us up all the way. And I want to say that I feel so good stepping aside right now because we have two wonderful new co-directors, Vera Halpenny and Gretchen Skaggs. And they're much more energetic and much more techy than I am. So it's a good time for me to step aside and let these younger, more energetic people move in. And I also want to highlight Robin Larkins. She's the executive director of Spring Community Partners. And last year, the Volunteers of Spring, it's a pretty big organization, and they dived in with us to back us up, and Robin was in the lead, and Robin has been there ever since. She's there a couple of days a week. I mean, she's just an amazing fountain of energy and a force for good. So I just want to really thank Vera, Gretchen, and Robin, and everybody who's behind them and working with them, because we have, I don't know how many volunteers, we have so many volunteers now. And Tuesday night is a big night for them. They pack boxes and they go through the produce and they get everything ready on Wednesday. So I know they're going to jump into action as soon as this is over. And I also want to add that my husband, who's right at my side here, took over a lot of the stuff that I did. So I am going to hear all about the pantry, and I'm not stepping that far away. So I want to thank everybody and the board of trustees for thinking of me this way.
Well, it's our pleasure, Molly. I'm glad you're sticking around, and we can't thank you enough for the work that you've done through the years. And I can imagine, I know that in the last year, it's been extremely time consuming and emotional for you. So thank you again for all that you've done. We appreciate it, and enjoy your day tomorrow.
Thanks to everybody.
Okay, hey, Molly.
Good night, everyone, and thank you.
Night.
Thank you.
Hey.
Before we go any further, I'd like to add 3 items to our agenda. Action item number 13 will be a discussion regarding municipal operations protocol and a discussion regarding the Gould Park pool fees. Action item number 14 will be a discussion regarding the Road to Freedom March. And action item number 15 will be a resolution to appoint the village engineers. Moving along, we have another presentation, which will be to view and discuss the project on 19 Livingston Avenue. So, Melissa, can you promote? I guess it would be Christine Griffin's.
And Chris, okay, and Suzanne Levine.
And I think Linda Whitehead, their attorney, is here as well.
Okay. Yeah.
So welcome, everybody, and the floor or the Zoom is yours. So go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm Linda Whitehead, a partner with the firm of McCullough, Goldberger and Stout, representing the owners of 19 Livingston Avenue. With me tonight are the new architect on the project, Christina Griffin, and Suzanne Levine from Christina's office. I think you all know this property on the west side of Livingston Avenue, adjacent to Cabrini, and formerly Rudy's Beau Rivage. There had been a rather contentious prior application for a larger project with more intense development on this property previously. We're back now with the owners. Christina and I are both new to the project. We're back with a revised smaller plan for just 8 townhouses. This plan is fully compliant with all requirements of the code and has actually fewer units than would be permitted by the zoning. So we're here tonight just to give you an initial presentation of the new plan, listen to any comments or answer any questions. And then we will be following up with a full site plan application with an environmental assessment form and the plans. And at that time, we will be asking you to declare your intent to be lead agency, start the SECR process, and refer the application to the planning board. But for tonight, we just really want to introduce the project and see if the board has any initial comments. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Christina.
Good evening. I'm Christina Griffin, principal of CGA Studio Architects. I'm here with Suzanne Levine, a project architect, and we're just going to give you an introduction to this project. And I've put up the drawings. Can everyone see them?
Yes.
Okay. The first page is just the image that of the proposed townhouses that would be seen from Livingston Avenue. I'm going to go through the plans in general. Suzanne, next slide, please. This is our location map. I think most people probably know where Livingston Avenue is. It's that street that is coming off of Broadway and links up onto Main Street, and it's just to the right of Cabrini. Next slide, Suzanne, please. These are just photographs of the site. We have labeled 3 important view platforms that we have been working with. On the left is just a view from the southern portion of the site. The middle one's through the site and the one on the right. Next slides, please. We're identifying these just to let you know that we have located view platforms that will allow a view from the sidewalk through the site. And I'll show you where they are on our site plan. This is our just another view of the site from the traffic island that's nearby. Next slide, please. And then these are just photographs of neighboring buildings. They vary from multi-family and townhouses to three-story, 3-family houses, 2-story houses, and 1 and 1.5 story. So there's a mix of different residential types of buildings. Next slide. The project is in the MRO zone. And this is our site plan on the left. We're going to enlarge that a little bit for you. Now, we decided to have the townhouses clustered in groups. There's 2 groups of 3 along Livingston and 1 group of 2 in the back. And we did this because we want to provide an opening between the townhouses for viewing from the sidewalk. And then we have our view platforms on the right and left around the townhouses. The lot coverage is only 15%, and we're allowed up to 27%. The impervious coverage is at 40.5%, and we're allowed up to 54%. The way this has been designed is we wanted the townhouses to be pushed towards the front of the site to reduce all the site development that would have to occur, and also just to keep the density down. There's also steep slopes in the back that we'd rather leave as outdoor space for the residents. Also to the right, Suzanne, if you could move to the right down below, we wanted to show you that we are in the process of having a subdivision map made so that each townhouse has its own individual lot. Please go to the zoning data chart, Suzanne.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess, okay. This just shows how this project is an as of right project. In every way, we're going to meet the zoning code. And we just had a quick review of the latest code changes. And we will make sure the project meets the slight changes in the code for the MDR1 zone.
Excuse me, that's just to clarify, those are the proposed changes that I believe the board is going to be considering.
Oh, yes.
That were recommended by the planning board, but we have reviewed them to make sure we would be compliant.
So, you see the requirements on the left, proposed on the right. We're allowed 2 and 3 family dwellings. We have 2 and 3 unit attached townhouses. We went over the lot coverage. We're way under that. We're only at 15. We meet all the setbacks in the front. We'll be at the 20-foot setback allowed, but at the rear we have 77 instead of 25 feet. And then we meet both side yards. We're way over we're at 14.5 instead of 10 and 41 feet instead of 20. And that's because we want to make sure that we did this so that we would allow space for these view corridors from the sidewalk. And also on the right side of the site on the north side, we have to leave space for our driveway coming into the lot. And also height-wise, we meet the requirements. They are 2.5-story high, and they meet the height limits that are in the current code for the MDR1 zone. Suzanne, could you go back to the site plan just quickly? I just want to, I want to show them that.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Plan on the right, lower right. That's the one I wanted to show them. Yeah. I just wanted the board to know that these areas with X's are the individual lots for each townhouse. And there's going to be a shared area in the common area in the back. Also, the goal of the project was try to conceal the cars. So you come down a driveway to the right and go around the back of the units. And each unit has individual 2-car garages in the back. And all the parking requirements are satisfied by the garages, and there's additional parking that's outside that's going to be part of a common parking area. Now, these are our floor plans. These are 3,000 square foot, roughly 3,000, 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath units with elevators. So we have we've staggered the units so they have more of a sense of individual homes. And then each of them have decks along the back for views of the river. This is our first floor layout with the open layout and study on the first floor, accessible from the front of the building and also accessible from below, from the basement level. And on the second floor, we're going to have, Suzanne? I'm sorry. Each unit has three bedrooms, 2.5 baths with an elevator access. Sorry, down to the basement. Yeah, I'm sorry to flip around so much. Each unit has a 2-car garage with some exercise room and bath. We have also preliminary elevations here to show you. There's also a roof deck at the very top. There's a half story. It meets the definition of a half story in the Dobbs Ferry Code. It's a lounge area that's tucked up in the roof line and has a deck along the back on the west side for views of the river. Now, we have a slightly different floor plan for the 2-unit townhouses, very similar layout with roof decks off the first floor. And then at the very top, roof deck over the second floor at the very top off of a lounge. Very similar 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath layout. Okay, here are our townhouses in elevation. The first group of drawing at the top, that's the east elevation, what you would see from the street. They're given, they all have gable roofs with a kind of a modern aesthetic with dormers at the top. And then down below are the west elevation that shows the garages at the basement level with decks on the first floor, second floor, and roof deck at the top floor. And then the side elevation, the top is looking south, where you see the group of the two townhouses that are attached on the left and the 3 townhouses attached to the right. The townhouses are staggered, so this view is showing all the staggered walls. So the upper 3 units are on the upper hillside of the site, and the 2 townhouses in the back are lower down on the site. And then our north elevation showing that those walls facing north, and then east elevation at the bottom is really our elevations of the entryway of the 2-unit townhouses, and then the west elevation is showing the back of the 2-unit townhouse. Next slide, Suzanne. Okay, this slide has some color on it. Maybe it's easier to see. This is the engineer's drawing showing a topographic site plan. Those are the red lines. The part of the site that we'd like to build on is the more gently sloping part, and then in the back it becomes very steep. So we made use of pushing the units towards the front. There is a lawn area in front of all these units, driveway to the right. You come down the driveway, come around, and there's a slightly sloping driveway that leads to each individual 2-car garage. And then you can go down even further to go behind the 2 townhouses that are attached in the back. And at the very back of the site, of the parking area, we're planning to have a lawn that's going to be a shared area, shared by all the units. And actually, the next set of drawings really are our engineering drawings that we just happen to have here in case you have questions. Paul Petretti is the engineer, and he has done a stormwater drainage plan and all the view, sky exposure diagrams for each elevation of the buildings. So there's this whole series of sky exposure diagrams demonstrating that the proposed townhouses will be within the sky exposure planes. Does anyone have any questions so far?
Are all these units relatively the same size?
Yes.
Have you identified the affordable housing unit yet?
We have 8 units, and I haven't gotten that far along with this to see if it's required.
One is required, I believe, of 5 or more.
I see.
Requires one.
No, we haven't identified it yet.
Okay.
So I think that's really our presentation for tonight, unless Christina, you have anything else. But if there's any other questions or any comments so that we can sort of take as we finalize the more formal site plan application and submission.
It's sure a lot better than the original one.
Yeah, that was going to be my question is for the rest of the board, if there's any history behind this project that we should be considering or that I should know about in looking at this one, and whether or not whatever problems with former projects are addressed with this solution. Is that something that we should be considering? Because if it meets code and
We can provide some kind of a summary of what the old plan was. Yeah, neither Christina nor I were involved in the old plan, but I do know some of what the issues were, and we can review it with the clients. And for those of you who weren't on the board at that time and aren't aware, we can certainly put together sort of a summary. It was a larger project, and there was neighbor opposition.
I'm
mostly-
familiar, Trustee Nell. I'd be happy to go through some of this, but I think I would just say that some of the biggest issues I think had to do with view corridors. I think that is the applicant's been conscious of that and has taken that into consideration. I think it's important. There is a rhythm of this part of Livingston which allows sort of large houses with openings between, and you get views to the river. And I think that was one of the crucial components the last time around. I also think that given that this is 8 units as opposed to quite a number more, I don't remember, but that was also part of the problem was trying to put too much on a site with a lot of steep slope concerns. So I see this as the right kind of application, and it's nice to see that. I would suggest that we plan for a joint meeting with Planning and Architecture Review Board. Again, this is about doing what's sort of smartest and most streamlined for the applicant. I think we'd all benefit from that, and I think you have good experience with us, with the 3 boards now, to realize that it's probably in everyone's best interest. I think that some kind of 3D view study would be very valuable for us to all look at. If you prefer to do that in person, maybe you can put some things on site and we can take a look, at the physical site, or if you want a photo montage or architectural model, or I'll leave it to the applicant to decide how or what medium is the best to convey that to us. But I think that's probably the most important part of all this from our perspective.
So I think that's a good idea as far as based upon the history of what's happened in the past. I think it's a good idea if all the boards do get together and do have a joint meeting on that. And I would like a history of what's happened in the past. And Laura Lee, everything is now, I'm assuming, clear and ready to move forward. Is that correct? As far as any legal liabilities or what's going on?
There's an appeal that that was brought by the neighboring property owners, and I believe there are some outstanding issues, but they shouldn't stop a new project in this same location. They were projects of complaints as to a certain procedural requirements that may have been missed or may have been met and forgotten. But in this case, this is a new project. It's so we start fresh.
Yeah, I was going to say that too. I don't think that I think the history is important to understand how different this project is, but I think we have to view this with a new set of eyes and not take that history into account in deciding this project. But to that extent, Morley, as long as you're comfortable that none of the pending issues on appeal are going to impact our decisions on this project, then that's fine.
They don't.
Okay. So any other questions while we're here?
I just wanted to ask if there would be any recreational amenities on site, or whether like you're not considering a tennis court or basketball court or any of those?
No, we're not.
Not
Okay.
at this time.
All right. I was just going to ask that you locate it but no problem. Thanks.
And Laura Lee, it's your understanding that an affordable housing unit is required?
The code is actually written for 10 units or more.
Yeah.
I thought there was a 5. It matches the Westchester County Code, which requires 1 for 5. Does it not? Is Ed here?
We'll take a look at that.
Yeah,
And I'll
We'll
speak
look
to
at it.
Lori Lee and we'll confirm that.
Okay.
Because I know we're requiring it for 156 Palisades.
We'll look
And
forward to
It's
getting.
just that they should know this before they create.
of course, we
units.
actually on the
This is
previous,
for your protection too, Yeah.
They'll complete a zoning analysis. They're going to be making a formal submission for your maybe perhaps for your next meeting or the meeting after that.
Okay.
Because we can't make the referral. There's been no secret documents submitted, and your new planner wants an opportunity to provide you with a substantive comment memo. So once we get a formal submission made, this is really a conceptual introduction to see, much like Christina did with 2 former projects, to see if there was some overarching, I like this, I don't like that. Can we move this here? Do we add that? But if you have no comments of that nature, of substantive nature, then perhaps the consultants can retire and create a beautiful submission for your consideration for a referral to the planning board.
I like that, a beautiful submission.
well,
I will say to
Renderings are always helpful. Color.
yeah,
I will say, and as to the applicant, for a long time, I suggested that these that actually a fair degree more could be built on the site if, in fact, the orientation was 90 degrees from what it currently is. So rather than a kind of continuous street wall, that there was a rotated, perpendicular to the axis of the river. Now, I don't know if that's been explored, but that is an opportunity to put more on the site and still maintain the view corridors. Just to I'm not dissatisfied with what the plan you're showing us, and I don't want to upend that if you're far along, which it seems like you maybe are. So that was my only comment, some time ago when we looked at this the first time around. I'm not by any stretch, pushing that agenda, but just something to consider.
And these are going to be offered for a fee simple sale. So you haven't had an opportunity to assign an affordable unit with fee simple sale. So there's always an opportunity for an offer by the developer to tuck one in somewhere. So I know that Trustee Casal would be happy to see some form of recognition. And again, a zoning analysis is in your hands, and the board will look forward to seeing your presentation.
We'll do that. And we look forward to working with your new planner and with the village on this. We think this is a project that works well in this location, which, frankly is a bit of an eyesore as it is right now. So we look forward to it. And I assume that once we get you the formal submission is when you'll look to schedule the special meeting, the joint meeting.
Yeah, I think so. So thank you. I appreciate all the effort's been done, and we look forward to work, see what you come up with. So thanks again.
Usually
Our
after,
next meeting.
after the referral is made, their first meeting is a public hearing at the planning board. So that usually the joint meeting occurs when the planning board gets it formally referred and they schedule the hearing for their first meeting. So then we
Okay.
usually join them.
We look forward to it. We did have good success on another project with having a joint meeting, so we
you.
look forward to it. Thank
Okay.
you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Good night.
Okay, so now we're going to move to our next agenda item, which is a public hearing to discuss the opportunities for funding of projects under the Community Development Block Grant Program. So is there a motion to open the public hearing? Trustee Sullivan, second. Trustee Patino, all in favor? The public hearing is now open. There have been instructions attached to the agenda that give advice on how you can participate in the public hearing. And you can raise your hand, and we've laid that all out for you. So I know we've had this presentation before. Richard, do you want to take the lead on this?
Sure, thank you. So at the previous meeting, we had an opportunity to share with the Board of Trustees some of the components of the CDBG program, and also two of the projects that we were considering pursuing this particular round. I don't want to belabor, because I know you all have seen this before, but just for this is actual public hearing, a legally advertised public hearing, which is required by CDBG, so the public has an opportunity to participate and also to be apprised as to what is being considered. So I'll be very summary, because we've seen this before, but I want the public to understand that the projects under this CDBG grant cycle, which are actually a 3-year cycle for the upcoming year, they must include benefits for low, moderate income people, eliminate slums, meet an urgent need. And these are funding opportunities in the county, which include projects that are revitalize neighborhood, improve housing, promote economic development, support community facilities, and promote fair housing. Every project must benefit individuals or households, 51% of whom qualify. And these low to mod areas are very highly defined by the federal government. And they're shown here on these two maps, one of which runs along the Hudson River and the railroad tracks, and the other one is off of Ashford Avenue. We're actually limited in terms of the projects that can be considered by this program, by those located in these areas. In addition to the village, not-for-profits also have an opportunity to apply. So I think we've kind of touched on this. These are projects to create let's go back 1 second. A suitable environment, good living, decent housing is very important. Creating economic opportunity, to provide additional availability and accessibility to the public. Affordability is very important, as is sustainability. We receive our funds through the Westchester County Planning Department. The applications for this 3-year round are due on June 25th. It covers the period May 22 through 24. And all the projects require a 50% match. Each community can apply for up to 4 grants of $250,000 each. And as I said, nonprofits can apply. We're part of the Westchester County Urban Consortium. The recent work at Gould Park actually the work that's being undertaken as we speak on a daily basis was funded through CDBG. So at this point, I'll turn it over to Kendra Garrison, who is a rec superintendent and who has been fostering 2 of the opportunities this year that we would like to pursue.
Good evening. The first project that we're looking to do is the Memorial Park spray pad. So it would be done in front of the Memorial Park office down on Palisade Street. So it would replace the old waiting pool that used to be there. and put in a new splash pad for kids. It would be not require us to have any staff there, and people could come and just run through it and cool off. As you can see, the pictures of the different items that would be there. And then our next project would be a curb along Gould Park Pool and a staircase going down into Gould Park. It would allow access off of Ashford Avenue. And it would also deter the water from coming down into the pool like what happened last July. And with that, I'm open to any questions.
We get to prioritize the projects that we put in for, like that our preference would be, this one over the other one.
Yes, I believe we do get to do that.
Yes, the village gets to indicate its priority as well as which of the 3 funding years you'd like to get the project implemented in.
Okay, so how much is the spray pad estimate? That was 214 for the stormwater and the stairs, right?
Right. So I'm going to go back to that just to show you, but also just to note that the purpose of the public hearing tonight is also to let the community talk about the needs in the village, perceived needs. So we're not just looking at these projects tonight, but just also talking about the opportunity of the grant, and let anybody from the public who wants to share ideas or information is free to do so. So just that note, but I'm going to get down to the 2 budget estimates. Sorry.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the spray pad was applied for before. So it might be something that the county might look as favorably. In addition, we're still finalizing the figures on that. So there may be a slight variance, but this is a ballpark. But those figures will be fine-tuned before the application date in June.
I have a question. Obviously, if we're prioritizing, I know it's more expensive, but I go with the Gould Park. I mean, if we don't get the grant for Gould Park, that stairway and that drainage has to be done anyway, correct?
Something needs to be done about the drainage.
Absolutely, yeah. So I mean,
And I mean,
for
the
that reason,
idea,
I would push for this part, this grant. I mean, personally, because this we have to have the Gould Park fixed.
Well, and the Gould Park is cheaper than the spray pad. Am I reading it correctly or no?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
My concern is that Gould Park already at least has the pool, and it's a beautiful project, while that other side of the village is deprived of having some kind of entertainment or activities for the little ones on that side of the downtown area.
That's a good point. You're right. And that park has been they haven't been used that for years. So.
Yes. And it will be a great asset to the wonderful community center that we just, finished building.
Why would they look more favorably on the spray pad just because we asked for it once before?
Yeah. Okay, let's open it up to the public. And
Did nobody hear my question?
No, what was your question?
Sorry, I said, why would they look more why would the county look more favorably on the spray pad because we requested it once before? I don't know if Richard or Fiona can answer.
Fiona?
I'm not sure that they would look more favorably on the spray pad because we'd applied once before. Many grant rounds will, certainly many state grant rounds will do that. I'm not sure that that applies directly to CDBG. The spray pad does have a slight advantage in being more directly serving a low and moderate income population than the stormwater infrastructure, given the origins of the stormwater itself.
that's fair.
The
All right,
stormwater
thank you.
does impact a park that's used by low and moderate income people. I do have a slight concern about the pool because I understand there's a fee to use the pool, whereas they wouldn't for the spray pad. I think they're both competitive projects though.
And there's a chance that they won't give us a grant Friday, right? There's no guarantee that we'll get one or the other.
Correct. There's no guarantee that you'll get a grant, but the county has had the philosophy in the last, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 years of trying to ensure that each member of the consortium, which would include Dobbs Ferry, receives some funding for a project.
And when would they make their decision?
It is generally speaking announced in the late fall, and then there's a public comment period and it's finalized in January. So we submit in June 21, awards sort of finalized in January 22, and the first implementation period starts in May 22. But when I say awards are finalized, it's a little tricky because HUD actually allocates the money down to consortium by year. So for all that the county awards all 3 years of projects, they only receive their funding amount for year 1. And then they sort of have to wait 12 months till they hear how much they're going to get for year 2. And so awards can be adjusted. In the past, my experience has been they're adjusted up, which has been remarkable. But I guess the opportunity exists for down.
Any other questions from the trustees? Okay. Alyssa, is anybody raising their hand?
Yes. Patty, can you hear me or can you?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, I think both of these are really great things. I think both would be wonderful for the village of Dobbs Ferry. And I totally understand Maura's point. You know, being able to spread the improvements around, I think in a normal situation would be great. My experience with what happens down at Gould Park, however, I don't perceive that as something that is an optional interest. That wouldn't it be nice? I think the existing park that we've just, pool that we've just put so much money and effort into creating, really a wonderful facility. Thank you, Kendra. I think it's at risk if we don't do that work. I think that this is a very dangerous condition that could do serious damage to the investment that we've already made if we don't finish that work. Thank you.
Thank you, Patty. Anybody else?
Well, I guess I'd make the observation to the extent that the Gould Park work needs to be done and that park and the improvements are at risk. We're talking quite a long cycle, you know, to do this. And so that we would be at risk for some period of time if we can't find the funds to do that elsewhere.
Is there another project that was considered that we didn't put in the grant?
I mean, we talked about some of the sidewalk projects, but you've already got one pending under a SAM grant.
Yeah.
And that one's pending. And I think you're going to talk about another one a little bit later this evening.
No, I just asked that because, like, to Larry's point, like, I don't know if can we wait for the stormwater project and the stair for, I mean, I guess the stair could arguably wait for the stormwater to wait 2 years or 3 years for the grant money. What's the fix in the meantime?
I think you got to look at it again with another engineer. I mean, my original thought was to put proper drainage in Ashford Avenue, but I was told there's too many complicating factors with different utilities and whatnot. I mean, that would be what, I'm not an engineer, but that's what would come to my mind, but there's complications. So I think another set of eyes would be helpful. But meanwhile, you can put it in for a grant and see what happens.
I know they did look at drainage on that Ashford Avenue and they dug there and tried to do some work, but I think there's, as you said, there's utilities and stuff there that kind of prevented them from doing the kind of drainage that they really needed.
So this is an alternate attempt to deal with the situation based on that.
So what would, if we decide to go forward with both, what's the next step?
And the next
We're gonna
step-
have another informational meeting in 2 weeks, right, Elise? So final opportunity for the public to hear what your leaning towards, and then you would have to authorize by resolution the applications to be made before June 25th.
Okay. Okay, so we'll put it on for next time, and hopefully we can move at least one of these along. So thank you, Fiona. Thank you,
Okay.
Kendra, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Okay.
And is there, do we have I guess we're gonna wait until the next meeting for the board to say anything about these two particular projects, with whether you've decided either way.
Well,
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay.
And you
We'll have
opened a
to
public,
adjourn.
hearing.
Laura Lee, I have to adjourn the public hearing, right?
Yes, well, yes, you can please take a motion to adjourn it to
I will. So I don't know what the next meeting is. What's the date?
July 8th.
June.
I'm sorry, June 8th. I'm pushing it.
Okay, so is there a motion to adjourn this public hearing to our next Board of Trustee meeting, June 8th? Trustee Sullivan, second. Trustee Patino, all in favor? That passes unanimously, so this meeting is adjourned. This public hearing is adjourned to June 8th at 6:30. Thank you, everybody. Okay, the next is courtesy of the floor. Is there anybody who wants to be heard?
I don't see anybody raising their hand at this time.
Okay, so let's move to matters requiring action. Action item number 1 is a discussion of July 4th, 2021. So I know initially we weren't going to have any kind of celebration, but Richard, I know things have changed throughout the state, and I think it is a good idea to discuss what we should be doing. So
Yeah, so we put it on for tonight because here we are, we're almost on Memorial Day, and the next thing we'll turn around, it'll be July 4th. So we canvassed different communities in the county, and a couple are doing them. A few are doing fireworks. Some are just waiting, and they haven't decided yet, and a lot are no. So it's sort of all over the map. I don't know, Kendra, did you have a chance to check with any other ones after we spoke today? Or
I wasn't able to get in touch with Pearl River, but Mamaroneck is a yes. Nyack is going to decide on Thursday night whether or not they'll be doing them. Clarkstown over in Rockland, they're a yes, and Piermont is yes.
And Kendra, what about the river towns? Is Tarrytown a yes, I think?
They are still on the fence about it, and Irvington does not think they will be doing it. Ossining is not doing it.
Okay, because I think the problem is if we are the only river town to be doing it, I think we'll have an extraordinary number of people who will try to come to our village.
Right.
Can we do a limited number of people?
I guess we
I don't
could, right?
I'm just
Chief?
thinking out loud, but I don't know how you can monitor it. The chief would probably better be able to answer because they come in from walking from the training and.
No, that would be an exercise in futility.
But if what we're
That's a very
talking
polite way
about,
of telling me that was a bad idea.
if what we're talking about, like if the consideration is whether or not it's safe to have, even if we get all of the river towns and all of Yonkers, all the way up to Sleepy Hollow, and they all come to jobs and whoever can fit here fits. If they're outside and the numbers are low because there's a lot of vaccinations as proven by the state, then what would be our reason for not doing it?
I don't think it's a COVID thing. I think it's like the number of people. Like I don't want 10,000 people in our police department to have to deal with those kinds of crowds on July 4th.
Okay, I was just trying to make sure what we're deciding, like what is the basis that we would be saying no to? It's because we would be the only ones doing it and we don't want to overcrowd our park. So it's not COVID, or is it COVID
I think
for
it's,
the rest of the board?
I think that we need to consider the reasons why everybody else is not doing it. So, I mean, there has to be a reason why everybody else is opting. At the same time, it is a significant cost to the village.
That's the other thing. If we are low on money because no one's going into, I drove around the parking lot at the riverfront or the waterfront, it's empty. I mean, like if we're not getting revenue to help pay for operating the village by the train passes, then how can we afford a big chunk for fireworks?
I mean, Jeff, just on a ballpark, how much did it cost us the last time that we had the fireworks for July 4th?
It was somewhere in the $14,000-15,000 range.
Jeff, do we have this in our budget already?
It's in the budget, yes.
It's already
But that's-
budgeted.
I'm sorry, that amount though is just for the fireworks, if I remember right, Jeff.
Yeah.
The other elements of it would be overtime, I would think, Chief,
That's
and
correct.
also for DPW.
That's
And Fourth
correct.
of July is on a Sunday this year. That national holiday is actually Monday the 5th. So you do have significant overtime on more on a Sunday than I think you would anticipate on doing it a weekday or a.
I think if you look at all the factors, the money is one thing, yes, I mean, we're budgeted for it, but again, it is a considerable amount of money when we're going to lose, as Christy pointed out, we're losing a lot of money on our parking. You do have the COVID thing. I mean, yes, people are opening up, but are we going to require vaccination certificates from people to see whether they should mask or not? That's going to be hard. And if we are one of the only few on this side of the river that are doing it, we are going to be inundated, and the amount of work that is going to be required on our police department, our fire department, the DPW, and the overtime. I think this year it's just going to be a little too overwhelming for us, considering all the issues with it.
Okay, so let's go around the room. Donna, what do you think?
No fireworks. If you want to have picnics and stuff, that's one thing, but no fireworks.
Larry?
I suspect that we'll get a lot of people who go to the river to watch fireworks up and down the river, because they'll be visible somewhat from there because the horizon is open, and it sounds like there's some that are being done across the river. I think it'd be nice to consider something to recognize the 4th of July. I don't know if a parade for kids or something else, what that might be, but that would be lower cost and lower, kind of a lower draw, not bringing people from out of town so much.
Christy?
That would make sense. I mean, I think if we can think outside the box and not do our slam big bash fireworks that we've done in the past and watch Piermont instead across the river and get creative. It's just, that's more on Kendra and her team, I think. I don't know if they want that responsibility of replacing fireworks with something. But I do think that it would be nice to still do something for the 4th, considering, everyone wants to get outdoors and you can, and it's safe to, and it's a nice summer to celebrate all of that.
Okay. Maura?
I will refer back to our departments, like Kendra and the police department, and based on what their, assessment of how they feel about it. If they think that it's something that we can do in a moderated way, I'm okay with it. But I do agree with some of the other trustees. It is a significant cost that I think that sometimes people don't consider what it really costs to us in reality, to have events at the waterfront when it comes down to the DPW, the police department, and all the elements that come into place. So it's something that I am a little bit skeptical about doing, because it's specifically the cost and the risk of having this many people at the waterfront.
Okay, Nicole?
I mean, I think it'd be nice to do something. I don't want 10,000 people at our waterfront on July 4th. And I think we normally get 3,000 with everyone doing their normal stuff. The chief is here. I'm sure he would not want us to do that, although we haven't really asked his opinion yet, or if he even has the staffing to staff it, right? I don't know if we can do it. We could get on mute and you can tell us, chief.
Yeah, I would just assume pass for this year for the only one hosting. That would potentially be a larger than normal crowd that we would be dealing with. So that's kind of where where I would kind of be on this particular instance.
Mike, how do you feel?
Can't help thinking that some of the other communities that are on the fence are waiting for other communities to make a positive decision. I think if our meeting was later in the week, we might be sort of leaning in a different way. I would like to see something happen for the 4th of July. I think we're all pretty happy to see the way things have been turning out with the vaccine, particularly in our part of the country and state. And so I'd like to do something. I don't know what that means. I don't know if we can do the full firework thing. Maybe if we do decide to move ahead, Tarrytown will also decide to move ahead. And that'll ease some of the burden. I don't know. I am concerned, if Chief's concerned and DPW is really concerned about the number of people. I'm not so firm on it, but I would like to see something happen.
I mean, is it possible to have a tentative decision today and see what the other villages do, or maybe have a joint call and we all agree to do the same thing?
Well, I have been in touch with, I think Richard and I, we belong to the VOC. So from my understanding, that no one was doing anything at all. But now I hear that Tarrytown is thinking about it, but I don't know what their conclusion will be. But from what I understood a week or two ago, no one was going to do anything. But I certainly could follow up with the other river towns. I don't think today's a deadline that we're locked into. I think
it's generally Yonkers, us, Tarrytown, and Austin on our side of the river. I'm not aware of anyone else that really does fireworks.
Irvington would do it also. I don't think they'd have a big thing, but I think Irvington would have it. But I think Tarrytown is the other one. If they decide not to do it, then it's pretty much we're the only game in town, really. So
Can we join forces and
and have it done
on payments?
I don't want to say the money is because we do have most of that in the budget, and we have done it every year. And I think that's a big part of Dobbs Ferry, and that makes Dobbs Ferry a very special place to be. So I don't want to make it a money thing. I'm really concerned with the size of people. So if 10,000 people come to Dobbs Ferry on that day, it's just a crazy amount of people to come. So you know what, Richard and I could follow up with Tarrytown, and we can report back to you guys, and then we can go decide from there. Kendra, I don't know if there's anything that we could do that would make it an interesting, fun program that we can maybe do on July 4th.
Certainly look into doing something and see what other people are doing.
Okay.
I have no problems with that. We used to do the music with Joe Rooney, and then 1 year we did the petting zoo and the water slides. So we can definitely look into something.
Okay. So
do we know if there's some kind of deadline as to when the decision would have to be made in order to organize the fireworks and that sort of thing?
Definitely sooner rather than later, but I think the fireworks companies are being kind of flexible right now because they're hoping that people will do them.
Okay.
I still have an issue, even if Tarrytown does it, again, what the chief had pointed out, the amount of there was still, not everybody is doing it. So even if Tarrytown does it, there's still going to be a pretty large influx of people here. And again, with the COVID and the masks for people who aren't vaccinated, I think is going to be a policing nightmare.
That's true. I think, Richard, if you're not vaccinated, or anybody, you can answer this, but if you're not vaccinated, we have to put them in a special place, like in a special area, I think, cordoned off area. Did I read that correctly, or if I'm wrong?
If you're more than 500 people.
Yeah, which we would be.
Oh,
So
then you have to check.
Yeah. There are
What would you
different
do with
ways.
kids who aren't vaccinated with parents who are vaccinated? They'd be separated?
No, you'd enforce the masking and social distancing. There is guidance on how to deal with large gatherings greater than 500, but there are extra rules.
yeah, I mean, based upon that alone, I think it's going to be difficult for us to really maintain that, enforce that. So, I'll check with the other communities. And then we can decide. But Kendra, I think you should go under the assumption that we're not going to have it. But if we could do something special for the village, that would be great.
I'll just say I would also guess that 500 limit capacity limit for outdoor gatherings is going to change. That would be my guess.
Okay, Kendra, you have it's a big responsibility. July 4th's on your shoulders.
Thanks for that.
Can I, while we're on the subject of events at Waterfront Park, we don't need to talk about this now, but we do need to talk about setting standards.
Yeah.
I understand the Rec Commission was trying to work on something, but they haven't come up with anything. This board is going to have to decide, with or without any recommendations from them, how we want to handle events down there. So I think that needs to be on our next agenda if we could do it.
I mean, that's a good point, and that was something I was concerned about, and Kendra and I actually spoke about it today. You already have something in place on your recreation application that provides that there should be at least 30 days notice. I think, what, Kendra, did you say for groups over 15? Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
I forgot to unmute. Yes, that's correct.
So why don't you describe, we already have something in place, right, Kendra? I was gonna sort of publicize it so people were forewarned. It's not like you're trying to stop anybody from expressing themselves or from enjoying themselves. It's just that there's different preparation that's required for different events. So for a recent event where we thought there were going to be several hundred people, the police has to identify that there's people available to do the overtime, and the DPW has to be prepared for what the cleanup might entail. So we really want to try to encourage people to give notice so that the appropriate arrangements can be made, and so that you all have a reasonable opportunity to consider something and not feel like you're compelled because of the shortness of an application. That's very unfair, actually, and it's very difficult for us to muster the resources here in the village hall when we don't know the scope of the event and we're given like days instead of a month to work on it. So Larry, your point is well taken. It's my thought exactly. And I think you've got some stuff in place. If you want to discuss it further or how it can be tightened up or whatever, certainly open to that conversation.
And to enforce it.
Exactly.
Thank you all for actually making that statement, Richard. I know that you and I had a discussion earlier about this. So I am very glad that we are discussing this because it is an issue.
Yes, maybe we can put it on the next agenda and we can come up with guidelines. I know there was talk about limiting big events to 3, 5, 10 a year, and we can talk about that if we want to do that. There's also talk about, do we want to keep the grills in? Do we want to somehow or other have reservations for the grills or tables? So there's a whole range of things that have to be really addressed. And I think, it's for us to make those decisions. So we could put it on and talk about it. Okay. Before I move forward, I know that the chief is here, and I'd like the chief to comment. We had a horrific attack on the Dobbs Ferry police officer last week. It was just an incredible, horrific incident that happened. We put out a statement on it, and since the chief is here, I'd like for him to just comment on it and just give us an update and anything else you can add to it, Chief.
Thank you, Mayor. The police department has received a tremendous outpouring of support, not just from residents within the village of Dobbs Ferry, but from without. Numerous PBAs have been in touch directly with the family of our sergeant, and did have an opportunity. I spoke with him again this morning, just checking in, and he's retained his sense of humor. So he is recovering, and it's a scary thing, but I thank God that he's home and he's recovering. Thank you for checking in. thank everyone's support, but we really have gotten a tremendous amount of, we can't do this job without our residents, and they've really been wonderful.
I'm glad to hear it.
Thanks.
Please let us know if anything else we can do to help him. You guys do a tremendous job. We really appreciate all the work and effort and energy that you guys put in to defend us and protect us. So thanks again, and please pass along our gratitude to him. Okay, let's move to action item number 2, which is a continued discussion, proposed pilot program for daily parking at Waterfront Park. So is that the chief? Is that Elisa? What's going on?
I can start with that, Mayor. I work with Elisa on that, and based on a question that one of the trustees had posed last board meeting about possibly just letting Park Mobile handle the additional parking restrictions, at least during the daytime, in addition to the parking permits, which have been on sale. They've been, I think it's been working out pretty well. And so it's beginning June, and there's usually normally that we give a bit of a leeway to allow some of the residents to get caught up with a current permit before we start enforcing in earnest. But initially we had thought removing a kiosk from 99 Cedar to take over for the pay and display. But I had an opportunity before I went on my break to speak with the Park Mobile trustee to see the feasibility of opening Park Mobile to cover the commuting hours based off of the current daily permit fees of $5 a day or $2 for the senior. So since the waterfront is zoned, we can, not really heavy lifting to Park Mobile to extend the hours so that a commuter or a daily commuter who does not have a actual commuter permit can pay for Park Mobile throughout the lot. And we could go from there, see what that pilot program looks like. And Park Mobile would basically charge the $5 a day. The only problem, though, is the seniors. They would not be able to differentiate between a normal daily permit pass or the senior. So we could still potentially offer the physical senior permit upstairs, where they could come in, pick that up between during the business hours of Village Hall. And then at 5 p.m., Park Mobile will automatically trigger into the non-resident dailies because that's a different fee. The other issue, though, with Park Mobile during the daytime is that potentially the downside also is that that's open to anybody to utilize. So it wouldn't be just for a Dobbs Ferry resident. It would be, if a non-resident opens up their app, they could park there as well during those daytime hours. If for some reason, a couple months from now, we see that commuting is going back to normal and suddenly the waterfront is slammed with vehicles that do not possess a valid commuter parking permit, then we could always, and they said it wouldn't take more than a couple days to either eliminate the Park Mobile again during those commuting hours, or we could look at, say, designating 25 spaces, and those would be available for Park Mobile if you so wished. But that might be the, I think it was Trustee Taylor brought that up. I thought that might be easier just opening up the whole lot. So if you don't have a parking permit, the park enforcement could then just check and scan the license plate to see if they paid with Park Mobile. If they haven't, they could be issued a summons.
I think Trustee Nell and Trustee Taylor pointed out, the parking lot seems pretty empty. So I think maybe that's the way to go initially. And then if there is, a pickup and people going who live from Dobbs Ferry and we need the space, we can then restrict it. But I think it doesn't look like it's going to be fully occupied for quite some time. So that would be my suggestion. I don't know how everybody else feels about it.
For now, I like the idea of opening the lot to anybody who wants to park there on a daily basis, just from a revenue standpoint. and use Park Mobile, why not? If the lot starts to fill up, the other solution would be, we could sell for cost $5, $10 a sticker that was a resident sticker, so that you'd have to have the resident sticker and pay with Park Mobile, right? To be able to, if we wanted to limit it to people who live in the village. Hastings used to do something like that, where when they had meters, you had to also have a sticker that proved you were a resident of the village, to be able to use those meters and pay on a daily basis.
One consideration that I thought of with the problem with the Park Mobile app, like on weekends when Village Hall is not open for people to purchase permits, what do people who do not own smartphones or have Park Mobile apps or even have charge cards, how would they be able to park at our waterfront park to enjoy the park, non-residents?
In that instance, though, then they would not be able to acquire the parking pass. Although I don't know, again, we wouldn't be able to have any type of numbers on how often that happens, that a non-resident would not have a smartphone to be able to use our waterfront.
And have a car.
Correct, and have a car.
But I just point out, on the weekend, there's 25 spaces available for anyone. So I don't know that, that's really an issue. It's not village, you don't need a resident permit in order to park in one of those weekend spaces. So Don, I don't think that, I don't know if that's an issue.
Okay.
So
There is the possibility of the daily permits currently can be sold a day ahead of time, I believe, if they come into the police station. That's the current condition. And so you assign a date to it. What it would just mean, more permits sold in person in Village Hall aside from the seniors, but that is, if you wanted, is that correct, Chief?
Yes, that's correct. Sometimes we would have some residents stop in the day before to pick up a daily, or if they need it for 2 or 3 days, and they would come in on a Sunday night, knowing they would go down Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So that theoretically would work for a non-resident, could potentially stop in on a Friday if they were going to need it for Saturday. But like Trustee Patino mentioned, the 25 spaces would be potentially accessible to them as well.
My question about the 25 spaces, and again, it might be fine, and but we should look into it, because I know we have those 25 spaces with an agreement with MTA that's supposed to be used for people who are using the train. If we publicly open that up for non-train parking, that may or may not be an issue, but that might be something we might need to look into just to protect ourselves.
Okay. So, is the consensus of the board to go forward with the Park Mobile and opening it up to everybody?
Yes, I would say, why not?
Okay, so if you're, anybody against that idea?
Oh, it's a pilot program, right?
Yeah.
So if we find, like, if Donna's concerned about not everyone having a smartphone or running into issues, we can always revisit moving the kiosk for those people, figure out logistics. If it's otherwise, it's stuff. I think you can use the kiosk at Park Mobile.
Okay, so let's try it. Okay. When will that start? June 1st?
Yeah, I can drop our Park Mobile rep an email tonight and have her get that set up for June 1st. I'll confirm that date. She didn't say it would take more than a couple of days to put into effect on the back end.
Okay. And Laura Lee, I don't need to do anything official? No? Okay, great. Thank you, everybody. Let's move to action item number 3, which is to consider a resolution to authorize the chief to enter into an agreement with the Commission on Accreditation for Law Enforcement Agencies, with an application fee of $11,450. So, Chief, you want to talk about this?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, that's just, again, as we start moving forward to start working on some of the recommendations that came out of police reform. That was one of the suggestions. So I do need your board's permission to send that requisition and to sign off on the agreement. And unfortunately, I was also hoping to have another item on the agenda, but I'm working with civil service, and they have been dragging their feet. So that's something that we'll hopefully have on the next agenda. But yeah, I appreciate it, and we're looking forward to moving forward with some of these proposals that came out of police reform.
So I know we've spoken about this. So is there any further discussion or can we vote? Okay, so is there a motion? Trustee Taylor, second. Trustee Patino, all in favor? That passes unanimously. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you all very much.
Action item number 4 is to consider a resolution to postpone the sewer rent levy of open past due charges. Laura Lee, do you want to speak about this?
I've been working with Richard and Jeff to look this over. You have been coming up on a year with your sewer rent program formalized. There are a number of accounts in arrears. You don't lose the right to levy as taxes, but it provides an opportunity for those who are just getting up to speed on the ramifications of not bringing the accounts up to square. These past due amounts are considered by statute to be liens against your real property. So we would like to be able to disseminate clearer information about the ramifications of having a lien that could be foreclosed on your property in the nature of a tax lien, and encourage people to redeem these arrears and bring their accounts up to 100%. So by waiving this levy this first year, it provides you with that opportunity. It seems equitable and fair, and provides this opportunity for your residents, which you don't have to do, but you certainly are welcome to do it. And if it remains, the same amounts remain in arrears, or some other amount remains in arrears next year, you can easily levy them in the nature of tax liens, and notice will be provided and it will show up on your tax bill. So giving this opportunity seems like the right thing to do.
Yeah, I think we have to get the word out. That's all, really. I think a lot of people just aren't aware of it. So is there a motion to postpone the levy of sewer rent liens as property taxes? Trustee Casal, second. Trustee Patino. Any discussion on this? All in favor? That passes unanimously. Action item number 5 is to consider a resolution to authorize the submission of the multimodal number 4 grant application. Richard, can you speak to this?
Yes, so I'll defer to Elisa on this. She's been working on this, and I don't know that Fiona is still here, but so Elisa.
So hot off the presses, I have a conceptual drawing from Han Engineering. But the idea is last year we were offered the grant opportunity from Assemblymember Tom Abenanti's office to apply for this grant for $80,000. We began the application, but that was late February, early March. As we all know, the pandemic struck and we put it on hold. And we have the opportunity to resume that application. So the money is supposed to be used to improve pedestrian safety. And so looking at traffic committee priorities in 2021, their top priority is the crosswalk, improving the crosswalk on Ashford at the intersection with Storm. As you all might know, actually I have a few pictures I can show just to remind you of current conditions. I'm going to share my screen. Hold on one second, sorry. So this is this is the crosswalk, and you can see that this vehicle here is, you know, it's multiple vehicles wide on this side, and well, really two. And it's a very long crosswalk, and children use it every day to walk to the middle school and high school. And so just to give, I'm showing you these photos to show you. So this is the stretch north of the crosswalk, and that's the church, and this is looking down towards the crosswalk. And so I just wanted to show you current conditions, and then I can show you the drawing that, what are you looking at right now? I think I have to stop my share in order to share the drawing, actually. Hold on one second. Okay, so this is the conceptual drawing from Han Engineering. Now the traffic committee proposed doing both a pedestrian refuge and a curb extension. However, when the engineers took a look, the turning radius is quite challenging, and you could only bump that curb out by a couple of feet at most. So Han Engineering's recommendation is in fact to have this pedestrian refuge, which ends up being quite narrow given the needs for vehicles, including emergency vehicles and such. So this pedestrian refuge would be 5'9" wide at the crossing, but it would be quite long in case any vehicles were to roll over it. They'd roll over it sooner rather than later, is how our engineer put it. And then this is striping, and this is using paint to narrow the crossing here, and this is parking. And again, and this yellow teardrop island is not an island, it's striping to narrow the roadway. So that's the conceptual plan that can be, you know, amended or revised, but the idea is we have this opportunity to submit this application, and we wanted. Now, one thing to know is because there's no curb extension, it's possible that this pedestrian refuge would be significantly less than the money that we have the opportunity to apply for without a match, in which case we would consider another recommendation that was put forward, which would be potentially a flashing beacon on Maple and Broadway at the place where that is. So that is another possibility that we could consider applying for and that we might have the funds for, but we have to explore that because those lights can be very expensive and we wanted to stay within the limits of the grant. So that's where we are.
Okay, and that's the recommendation of the traffic committee to slow down traffic on that area, right?
It's to slow down vehicles by narrowing the roadway, but it's also to provide pedestrians a place to stop in the middle. Okay. Because it's such a long crossing. And if you want, I can go back to the photos so that you can better understand the challenge, but it is a very wide crossing for children who use it. And it's a very frequently used crossing.
Yes.
And Chief Guevara, I don't know if you wanted to comment, but you had also agreed that this was an intersection that could use some attention for pedestrians.
Yeah, when this was first pushed, I do agree that is a heavily used crosswalk on a grade with some sight line issues. So anything that I do like this. Anything that can be done, I think makes sense.
Okay. Any other questions by the board?
I would just quickly ask the chief, just from a pure safety standpoint, whether you would prefer this versus Maple, Broadway and Maple, right in front of the school.
Well, because I think this particular intersection, there's so many moving parts. I do think that this should be looked at immediately. I know Maple has its own challenges, but it is certainly sightlines are not an issue, so to speak, as far as it being a flat roadway. This bend of Ashford, you know, it's on the curve. Yeah, I think this makes sense to me.
And one observation I would make, I mean, I'm by no means a traffic expert, but I would assume that we would have to accept some additional congestion in this area, because I think where the parking is, just to the south of the intersection, we're squeezing into one lane where now cars are side by side lining up to go through the light at the next intersection. So there probably would be some congestion created.
Well, I just want to point out Ashford Avenue is one lane. And, you know, before that, you know, you see outside the cemetery, it's really one lane. People tend to speed up and pass other people on that little section, which is part of the problem because it widens. People believe it turns into two lanes. It does down at the traffic light. And, you know, speaking to the crossing guard there and just sort of walking that route all the time, it's most people ignore the crosswalk, even when the crossing guard's out there and people are trying to get across the street. Most drivers do. So I think anything we can do here, even if it creates some congestion, is well worth the effort. I did have the question, you know, I think part of the problem with heading into, you know, towards town from Ashford Avenue is a sight line. And I don't know if part of this proposal includes more robust, larger signage, but I think that could potentially help. You mentioned a flashing light sign, but that was at another location. And I don't see anything on this particular plan, but some additional signage I think would be useful.
Yeah, I think the traffic committee had originally recommended that a big sort of like welcome to downtown Dobbs Ferry be put in this refuge. And that's not something that's included here. And we're waiting on a precise estimate for this refuge. So once we get that more precise estimate, we would know what else we could add in, whether we had, you know, enough for signage or a light here or the light over on Maple and Broadway.
I understand. Thanks.
But that's something that we could take into consideration as we look at the budget.
I'm all for this. We've been looking at this for years. It really is a danger. People do not stop. They do not see that crosswalk. They do not stop there. So I think this will hopefully draw people's attention to it. I know we're looking at, just throwing this out there, I know we're looking at the flashing light at Maple. I know it had also been suggested that we have it at Hatch by the Old Croton Aqueduct. Is that too complicated to put it in there? The old Old Croton Aqueduct crossing at Hatch, I think it's Hatch Terrace, and where the aqueduct crosses Broadway.
Thank you, Donna, for bringing that up, because I was going to mention that if there is a road that it is significantly dangerous, is that intersection on Broadway and Hatch that you just mentioned. Is right off the aqueduct.
So I just want to put maybe a flashing beacon there.
Okay.
I don't know, just something we can look at. I mean, we can throw it back to the traffic committee and traffic consultants. But, you know.
Okay, that's the next step we'll take after we figure out the budget buffer.
Yeah.
The budget buffer. Yeah.
Okay,
How
so
high? Okay. Can I talk? How high is the refugee island? Like, how high off the ground would it be?
Actually, I don't think that we have that information here.
Okay.
He just says it's 5'9" wide, but I can get you that information.
Got it. Okay. And then just on behalf of the traffic committee, because I took over from Donna and it's been fun working with them. And I'm sure they're going to be, if they haven't already seen that this is happening, they're going to be super stoked that we've taken their considerations and moving forward with this. So thanks, guys.
Any other questions? Comments? So I think we're ready to move forward with this particular spot, right? So is there a motion to authorizing village administrator to submit an application for the multimodal number 4 grant opportunity to improve the intersection at Ashford Avenue and Storm Street? Trustee Cassell, second trustee Nell, all in favor, and that passes unanimously. Thank you, and we look forward to seeing how it looks. Action item number 6 is to consider a resolution authorizing the interim village administrator to sign a municipal lease agreement with Bauer Office Solutions. I know we have a memo from Jeff regarding the copiers. Anything you want to add, Jeff or Richard?
I think Jeff and his office have thoroughly investigated this. So Jeff, if you have anything else, otherwise I'm recommend good to go.
No, I don't have anything additional to add.
Okay, so is there a motion to authorize the village administrator to sign a municipal lease agreement with Bauer Office Solutions with a term of 60 months at a cost of $330 per month? Trustee Taylor, second trustee Patino, all in favor? Maura? Did you vote yes, Maura? Yes. I'm watching. Action item number 7 is to consider a resolution authorizing the interim village administrator to sign an agreement with the Student Assistance Services for 1 year for the period of September 30th, 2020 through September 29th, 2021 in the amount of $48,814 to be paid from the federal grant monies received for the Youth Services Council. And we do have a letter from Justin Kampke on this.
He's also here tonight and his hand is raised if you want me to promote him.
You can promote him. Richard, do you know, or is it Jeff that you have anything to shed on this?
Yeah, we've this has been approved the past, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, just to carry forward another year from the grant, and the grant money is there.
All right, Justin, I know you have your hand raised. I think we're going to pass it anyway, but there's anything you want to add to this?
I promoted him, but I'm not seeing him. Strange. I hope I didn't lose him.
Well, let's vote on it. So I think we're going to pass it. Well, there he is.
There he is.
Can you hear me? Sorry.
Yes.
Sorry, I was just getting back. Hi, it's Justin Kampke, Dobbsbury Police liaison for the Youth Service Council. Sorry, that broke up at first there. I'm stepping in because we just had a Barry Sherman step down, and we're still trying to hire a youth service coordinator at this time. So a coordinator for the grant. I missed what Jeff was saying. I just heard that Jeff was saying we paid for it for the last 4 or 5 since the grant was established in 2015. We've been working with SAS and the Student Assistance Services, and hiring them as a liaison, and that they help out with our grant and technical assistance and in all the uploading of the documents and uploading of the reports. And also part of that is hiring the youth prevention coordinator. She works in the school 5 days a week at the Dobbsbury High School. She works with kids from the middle school all the way up to high school. As you can see with the paperwork I provided, it kind of gives all her job, all the specifics of the job that she does at the school. It's Kelly Foster. I don't know if you had any questions, Mayor and Board. I'm sorry, it cut out on me there.
No, we realize the important work that's done, so I think we have to move forward with it. But Trustee DeRosa, anything you want to add?
Yes, I just want to definitely follow up with what Justin said. Kelly is definitely fantastic with the students, and she does a really, really good job. So she is a great addition to this team and to the school. So we, as the committee, are very happy to have her in our team.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so let's move forward with it. So action item number 7 then is to authorize the village administrator to sign the agreement for $48,814, which is to be paid from the federal grant monies to the student assistance services for 1 year. Is there a motion? Trustee DeRosa, second. Trustee Sullivan, all in favor? That passes unanimously. Action item number 8 is to consider a resolution authorizing the village administrator to sign an agreement with the student assistance services for 1 year for the period September 30th, 2020 through September 29th, 2021, in the amount of $9,500 to be paid from the federal grant monies received for the Youth Service Council. And again, as Justin outlined, that he also sent a letter dated May 17th, 2021. So is there a motion to authorize that? Trustee DeRosa, second. Trustee Casal, all in favor? That passes unanimously. Thank you, Justin, for all the work that you've done on this, and we appreciate it, and we're looking forward to the program for the upcoming year.
Great. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Board. Have a great night.
You too. Action item number 9 is to consider a resolution authorizing the purchase of a truck lift from cfac USA, Inc. for the amount of $44,176. In support of that, we did receive a letter from the fire chief Osborne outlining why he believes the lift is necessary. Richard, do you want to add anything to that?
Sure. This was an initiative that was brought forward during the budget process by both the fire department and the Department of Public Works. The fire chief worked diligently, and he identified an opportunity to purchase the equipment a little earlier and save the village a couple of $1,000s. So that's appreciated. And so fundamentally, the purchase that was planned for the next year's budget will be made during this budget cycle. Therefore, saving the village money and ultimately making monies available in the future budget for other potential public works opportunities.
Okay, so is there a motion to permit the interim village administrator to purchase that truck lift? Trustee DeRosa, second. Trustee Casal, all in favor? That passes unanimously. Action item number 10 is to consider a resolution authorizing the village treasurer to make a budget transfer in the amount of $44,176 for the purchase of the truck lift from cfac. Is there a motion? Trustee Taylor, second. Trustee Casal, all in favor? That passes unanimously. Action item number 11 is to consider a resolution to declare the Minolta microfilm microfiche reader as end-of-life surplus equipment. Is there a motion? Trustee Taylor, second. Trustee Casal, all in favor? It's declared surplus.
I assume we can't sell it to the Smithsonian as a relic.
What's microfiche? That's back in the old days.
You don't remember going to the library and that's how you read articles for research papers?
I do, but I was going to ask some other people on this board if they even know what microfiche is. But
Even I do. I like to think of myself as young. Not.
Microfiche.
Kids don't know the pain that we had.
Action item number 12 is to.
That's why Frank's laughing because he's a kid.
Frank's like, what is this microfiche?
Why'd you look it up on the internet, Frank?
Yeah.
I'm going to spend some time Googling after this. So
You can look it up in the Encyclopedia Britannica.
There you go.
The opportunity was here. The equipment was sitting on the second floor, open for anyone to investigate. But during the retention, it got heave-hoed, so we're good to go.
in my basement as a relic. Maybe I could sell it someday. Consider a resolution to approve the audit of claims as submitted and recommended by the village treasurer. Do you have anything to add on to this, Jeff?
No, it's just another normal claims audit.
Is there a
Unless there's
motion?
questions?
Trustee Taylor, second. Trustee Patino, all in favor? That passes unanimously. Okay, now I have to go back to act number 13. It's a discussion regarding the municipal operation protocol and specifically Good Park Pool. I know Kendra is still here, and I think Kendra, you had sent out, I don't know. Can you hear me, Kendra?
I can hear you.
Okay, so we had put out a payment policy. Actually, you know what? Let me take a step back. Richard, why don't you take the lead on this?
So there were two items that we wanted to talk about with respect to the pool, which is going to open this weekend. One of which is the, what kind of policy are you going to put into place, and what kind of policy is the recreation department going to effectuate in order to screen people, or in order to make sure that those that are attending the pool are healthy and appropriate under the latest guidelines from the federal and state government. So Kendra and I met this afternoon to talk about this a little bit. And fundamentally, we're waiting for the guidelines from the Westchester County Department of Health, which we expect to come on Thursday. And if those, we are mandated to follow the health department guidelines, or they have the ability to tell us we can't operate. So if the county comes through with the guidelines on Thursday, we will comply. If the county does not, then our thought was that we will keep in place those guidelines that were in place last year. And Kendra, maybe you want to describe that a little more, of what those were and how that would work.
Sure. So basically, anybody entering the facility at the pool would need to wear a mask, regardless if they were vaccinated or not. Once you got to your seated area, you could take off your mask. No masks in the pool, obviously. But if you were going to go to, let's say, like the picnic area or the bathrooms, then you would need to wear your mask. We also took temperatures last year. So we would continue to do that until they told us otherwise.
So fundamentally, it's an update. We're really waiting on the county of Westchester. But in default, we'll revert back to the program that we had in place.
Okay.
That's very sensible.
That's just a sort of update. If there are no questions, I'll move on to the next piece of the pool. So the next piece is Kendra had suggested, and I think had been circulated for the fees for the pool use for this summer. There were family fees provided and individual fees. And also just thought, this is really putting it out to you all for your take on this. Some families that may find the membership fees a little daunting. I think there's some opportunity through the rec department for them to be adjusted in a very limited way. But in point of fact, some people might be a little put off or intimidated. We canvassed around some of the other communities, and they do offer the opportunity to establish a separate membership that would give an opportunity to somebody to purchase day passes. The current paradigm that was submitted does not anticipate day passes. It anticipates a family pass or an individual pass. Some of the other communities provide for day passes. Scarsdale, for $150, you can get sort of a tag that would allow you to buy a day pass for $8 and $10. Briarcliff does the same thing for a little less money. So it seemed like it might be an opportunity that you might want to consider to give people an opportunity that are visiting in the community, or maybe that don't have several $100s to lay out for a family pass, but that might want to have an opportunity to use the pool. So, Kendra, you can correct any misstatement that I made.
Nope, I think you said it perfectly.
There's another thing I saw in other communities where they had like a 10-pack that you could buy. So I think some of the people's concern with the fee is like, if you're going to go, your family, you're going to go like every weekend, it's fine. But if you only want to go like 2 or 3 times, because you're away, your kids are at camp or whatever, it seemed daunting.
Yeah, I mean, that's the idea of presenting the alternative, you know.
Yeah.
Your fees, your family fees and your individual fees are not out of line with other communities. They're either mid to low range. So it's still not, you know, it's still not an insignificant number though. So it's to try to come up with another option for people that might want to go there for $10 and swim for the day, et cetera. So
The other complaint that I saw people on Facebook making, that I probably would have the same one if I was so inclined, is that caregivers are only allowed to have their pass with the kids that they're caring for rather than just any time. I don't know if that's because you don't want, like, you know, babysitters from North Shore or wherever, like, you know, outside of Dobbs coming in. I just picked North Shore, not for any reason. Or if they, you know, once they have a pass, they can use it, but maybe they can't bring guests or something like that. I don't know. Because it just seemed like that you're paying for that too, in addition to your family fee.
Kendra, how does that work if it's a caregiver or a third party?
The idea of the caregiver pass would be that they would be taking over for the parents and that they would only be going with the children. I guess the idea of it would be so that you couldn't just buy, I guess, your friends or your neighbor like a cheaper pass and they can go anytime and just kind of call them your caregiver.
I mean, that's fair. I get that.
Since it's like at a discounted rate of $120. And the idea would be you could only use it when the kids were there.
I get it, but I think, like, you know, when you have live-in care, it becomes like complicated, because then I guess you could just buy them the individual pass and they could just go with the kids.
You could do that. I
If
agree.
they live in care, then they live here, right? They're a resident.
They don't count as your family.
But wouldn't they be a resident? Like their address would be here?
It would be. So you could buy them a separate pass, but you couldn't include them in your family pass.
Right. So if I wanted to get my family pass for $500 and then I wanted to get my caregiver live in her own pass, it would be $750 for me for 14 weekends. You know, that's all I'm just saying. These are the complaints I saw on Facebook. I talked to Kendra about them last week.
Well, I think the easy one at first is to do the daily pass. I think, are we all okay with offering a daily pass?
Can I interject before we go? I want to clarify something. We seem to be talking about two things. One is for those people who find that $500 family pass to be a burden or a stretch, are we also proposing that there could be a discounted rate, or for a certain number of people? And then there's another kind of separate issue, which is for those people who only plan to use the pool a few times and don't want in the season and don't need a full season pass. So if we're talking about two separate things, I think we're talking about two separate policies potentially. And so I don't know if, Richard, I'm sure you've thought about this, and I'm just curious if we should be thinking about that as two separate policies that we'd be looking at, or if you're trying to wrap it all into one.
I mean, I was sort of thinking of it as you're speaking, and I'm trying. I'm sort of thinking of it as one. It's like, in other words, somebody who maybe, let's say that they aren't here for the summer, for example, but they happen to be back, and during a certain period of time, they want to have the opportunity to swim, but they don't want to spend $500 if they're only going to be here for whatever reason. And then the other one is that people that don't really want to get financially obligated to $500. It's sort of, to me, it's almost the same. So then you pay, let's say $100, and you get this opportunity to buy $10 passes. So I don't know if it's not addressing both of your concerns, or maybe I'm not totally understanding them.
I guess what I'd like to be able to do is for residents of Dobbs Ferry who want to use the pool regularly, but find the $500 fee to be, to a stretch, is there something that we could also add to this so that, those folks could use the pool regularly at a discounted rate? I don't know if that's been considered in the past. I'm sorry if I'm bringing up issues that everyone on this board has gone through many times before, but I think it's important for, to think about.
So we do work with Spring on that, and they do help out families that are in need. I think they had identified 50 or maybe more than that for this summer that they were going to help out. And we did offer them a little bit of a discount And Spring also volunteered to pay a large portion of their memberships. And then also just in regards to the day pass or the daily pass. So I just want to confirm, so people would be required to purchase like $100 pass, and then they would pay the $10 fee as they went, and that would be per person. So like one person couldn't purchase it for their family, correct? Or I just want to make sure that I have it right.
So if I want to get a day pass, I first have to pay $100 to have the privilege to pay $10 to get a day pass. For my family, I can just pay the $100 for my whole family and then the $10 for each member that attends.
Well, that's what I'm asking. So the daily, the way that Scarsdale and Briarcliff have it set up is that it's per person. So they would pay $100 and then $10 each time that they went.
I don't understand. $100 overall, and then that gives you the right to pay for $10 to go?
Correct.
Why don't
Right,
we
because
do
you're-
$10 to just, why can't I just
Well-
go family of $4 for $40?
Well, because you're losing the potential revenue from a family pass. So you're setting up at least some type of a threshold for some type of pass. But that's a judgment call that you all can make. Our references, Scarsdale does it for $150. Briarcliff does it for, I think it was $65 or something in that neighborhood. I don't recall, less than 100. And it's basically revenue also. Otherwise, you're looking to establish a revenue base with these fees too. But it's a judgment. It's
I
whatever
should
you
point out, while Richard's saying that, I think in the past years when the pool was active, it was at a loss to the village of somewhere around $60,000 a year. Maybe Jeff can confirm that. I know I just called them out on the fly, but it was certainly not a money maker for the village. It was a money loss for the village. I think part of the fee structure is to make sure that at least the pool is somewhat break even and not
Try to
anything
break
else.
even. Try to
Huh?
break even.
Yeah,
Try
we're trying
to
to break even. Yeah.
The other thing that an upfront badge does is it presumably gives the ability somebody to prove the same way you would with a parking permit that you are a village resident, and then you can, I assume, walk to the gate and pay for the day, as opposed to having to prove that every time you went to the pool.
What does Hastings do? Do they have day passes?
They do not. You have to be a member or you have to be a guest of a member.
And so we're basically making, you get like the day pass membership with the base fee for ours is this concept, right?
Yeah, it's in response to a lot of residents complaining that they didn't want to pay for the full family membership.
I did get a lot of emails about this as well, and I know that a lot of it was on Facebook. So, but I just want to point out that Hastings charges $550 for their family as of, and Briarcliff $560, Lewisboro $550, Scarsdale $616, and Tarrytown charges $430. So I would like the flexibility of a day pass. I'm in favor of that. The money part and the mechanics of it, I don't know if maybe we should leave it to Kendra and Richard. They can come back to us, or we could just leave it to them to make the policy. Because I don't know if we could decide this tonight.
I'm comfortable then making a policy. And I think people, if the upfront fee is a little less punitive, what does a movie ticket cost now? I don't have any idea, but a family would say we'd go to the pool instead of going to the movies. That kind of thing would seem like a reasonable balance to me. And I don't know how that would hurt us or help us revenue wise.
You'd need to pass a resolution to make a revision to your master fee
I
schedule.
think these are somewhat of an anomaly though this year because it's not really a day pass, right? It's a day pass per 4-hour stretch, Kendra. Are they limited, or did we change that and you can go for the whole day now?
You can go for the whole day. You can go for the whole day now.
Okay.
After last year, we're able to make sure that people will be spaced out enough.
Okay, I just want to make sure because otherwise
Yeah, so we did away with the time sessions.
okay, so you don't have to register to go to the pool now this summer?
Correct.
That's great. I'm in favor of the day pass. I think that I'm not adverse to a fee tied with having the privilege of being able to buy it for residents, but I think $100 sounds excessive to me. I think something lower, like maybe $50. I mean, we're not the same socioeconomic statistics as Scarsdale and Briarcliff. So I think we have to be aware of that. And I don't know, you guys can think about it. I'm just throwing it out, but does it make sense to have like a cap on the day pass for a family? Like I'm a family of 5, so if I want to go to the pool, it's gonna be $50 a day if we're trying to bring my whole family. Or is it like we'll max out at $30 or $35? I'm not wedded to any numbers. I'm just talking out loud. Kendra and you, Richard and Jeff, can figure out the financials and what works best. And maybe that's a bad idea altogether.
Kendra, can you share again what is the requirement of a family to have a day pass?
What do you mean the requirements?
What is it if I want to go to the pool one day in the summer and I'm not registered in any way, shape, or form?
You could, right now, as it is, you could go as a guest of a member and pay the $10 for adults, $5 for children and seniors.
Sorry.
Or you could purchase a membership.
I'm not referring as that. I want to know if I'm a resident of the village and one day I want to go to the pool, what does it take for me to go and buy a day pass for me to
That's
go?
what we're discussing, Maura. We don't policy right now.
We don't currently have one.
So then that's a good point, because like that's something that we need to consider, that we need to have something with that level of flexibility, that if there is a parent that it is extremely hot that day and they want to go to the pool, what is the cost of a person that is not a member of the pool to go and just pick up a day and go to the pool and enjoy it with their kids?
Right, so right now you can't. So
And
that-
even with what we're talking about, you still have to go register for your, base membership to be able to decide that. And I don't know that you would be able to do that same day. Like, is that something you'd be able to do, Kendra? Like, I want to go today. Okay, so I'll go online, pay the $50, buy my 4 single tick passes, and it's a $90 day at the pool.
You could do that at the pool office, or you could do it online. We would just need to see proof of residency when you showed up.
Gotcha.
I didn't realize kids were $5. I thought everyone was $10 or the flat fee. So kids are always $5, Kendra?
For the guest fee, yeah, and children under 3 are free, and seniors are also $5.
Right, but if we did the day pass, presumably you'd have the same rate structure, right? That you would for guests.
So we could potentially, the way that we were looking at it would be $10, just because we were going off of what the other pools did, but we could make it anything that we wanted. If you wanted to make it $5 instead of the $10, we could do that.
So
I'll leave it to you guys to decide unless, sorry, Mayor.
I just want to say, literally, I just want to make sure I understand. You're saying we have to vote on this then tonight to get, if they want.
You need a resolution to revise your master fee schedule if you're going to be collecting fees this weekend.
No, but I think this is isn't this in the master fee schedule, Kendra, the day pass fee? We've had a day pass in the past. It's just we
Right,
stopped
but
it because of COVID.
Right, but if you're changing the amount or changing if you're changing the amount specifically, Liz needs to make that change so you can collect it and enforce it. et cetera.
Nicole, I don't think we've ever had day passes. I think.
Yeah, so as far as I've been here 4 years, everybody tells me there was never a day pass that you could just walk up to the pool. I guess some people allowed it to happen, but it was never actually a rule that you could do it. So I don't really have too much experience with it because the pool has been closed and now we're just opening for the first year.
I definitely did it, so I thought that it was a rule in the past. Sorry.
Is that
But I
something
guess
that we
not.
can create, Kendra, that we can make available?
We can do anything that you guys wish. Just give us the guidance and we can make it happen.
So it's going to be not a great weather weekend this weekend anyway. I doubt it's really going to be a big issue for 60s and rain, right? So do we have to wait till the next meeting, Laura Lee, or could we do it in the interim so that for the first weekend in June, they could charge fees?
If you decide tonight, it's a quick resolution where, be it resolved that the master fee schedule shall be revised to reflect the daily pass of XYZ. It could be done on the fly, or if you want to consider it and draft a resolution for your next meeting, then you just won't be able to collect day pass fees
at the
I
pool.
don't think I agree. No one's really going to be using the pool this weekend as a daily. So I think maybe we should put it over till next time. We could put some deliberation into it. But I think we all, Kendra and Richard, we all want to do a daily pass. We want to have that flexibility to people. Let's work on that. Okay.
So I guess my other question would be, would there be a limit to it? So if 500 people came to get a daily pass, would we stop it at some point, or we're just going to let everybody into the pool?
I would let everybody in subject to the maximum amount allowed at the pool that day.
Okay. And what if I already purchased a membership and I can no longer, so if we reach, let's say 200 people and I've already purchased my membership and I can't get in, what happens?
I think
That's going to be a problem, because the days are going to be, the days when people are going to want day passes are going to be the same days that people have a membership.
Right, it's going to be those 90-degree days.
I just, let me make a suggestion that we just move on to the next. I mean, I think it's just good to have a recommendation in front of us when we are contemplating something like this, or alternatives, because otherwise it feels like we're just going in circles here.
Yeah, maybe you can come back with a number and say, look, we're gonna cap it at 50 or cap it at 30, and then we can decide if that's appropriate. But I think that's a good way to approach it. You decide look, you have the experience, we don't. So if you and Richard come back and say, we're going to cap it at 30 or 50 or 20, we'll discuss it the next time.
But the main takeaway that we would have is that we want the ability to have a day pass with the lowest base rate membership that we can afford within reason compared to our neighboring municipalities.
Correct.
Right.
Can
So
Kendra send us
that's-
a list of what is currently established?
What?
Can Kendra send us a list of what's currently in place?
Right now, it's one family fee,
On the
500.
website. The fee
But-
schedule's under recreation.
Mayor, but by everything that Kendra has shared with us, there seems to be additional dynamics to all of the fees and how they work.
The only other fee is for a guest pass. So that's a guest pass fee. But she'll send that to you if you want. It's either if you're a resident and you want to come, or as an individual, right, Kendra?
There are a few different ones. Let me see if I can share my screen. I'll pull up the brochure. 1 second.
In other words, I can't go to the pool without having either an individual resident pass or a family pass, or I'm the guest of somebody. Right?
Right.
Correct.
That's correct. Sorry, 1 second. Let me just find the right one to put up there.
While we're waiting, I just say, Kendra, since we're gonna put it over to the next meeting, you should probably talk to the rec commission, just get their recommendation on the fees.
I will definitely do that. Can everybody see now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's our membership fees there.
The one thing that I don't understand is that why a caregiver has to have an additional fee? Shouldn't the caregiver be in replacement of a parent? Or that is, Kendra, that one throws me off a little bit. Can you?
So
elaborate
the
on that?
caregiver pass, so you don't necessarily have to have a pass for your babysitter, but sometimes if your babysitter or your nanny are coming every single day, it makes it more cost effective to buy that for them. If they just wanted to pay the guest fee of $10, or if they're a senior, $5 each time they came, they could certainly do that as well. So it's just kind of one of those extra options.
All right.
Over
So
the
just,
16
we-
weeks, if your babysitter came, I don't even know, 30 times, it would already pay for it.
so a person could have their two children go with the babysitter, and that babysitter is a guest of the children, so to speak, or of the family pass. So there is sort of recourse for the caregiver. Okay, that makes sense. So I think that's less also problematic than what I thought from our initial conversation.
So that was also kind of like the design around the toddler pass, because technically kids under 3 are free. But what happened if you bought like an individual and you had a 2-year-old? We're like, well, but your nanny or your babysitter was going to bring them. So we created this toddler pass. So that gave them the ability to bring a guest with them.
Yeah, I think some of it's just explaining it to the public so they fully understand the different permutations. I mean, you're still gonna have people complain about the family rate, but I think we're in line with our neighboring communities and even less than some of them.
Is there a max for the family? You mean the code, for example, that you have a family of 5?
Yeah, it's $450 for early birds and $500 for regular.
When we say family, what happened to those people that have like, 6 people, 2 adults, 4 kids?
That would be fine. There's no max on the number of kids.
Okay, thank you. I do think that it will be great to have a daily, I guess, pass. And I totally agree with you, Kendra. They should be maxed out, maybe even to, 10 per day. But I think that it would be nice to offer something like that.
Yeah, I mean, that seems to be the biggest complaint that I get, the lack of flexibility for the day. So why don't we leave it to you, Richard and Kendra, to come up with a plan, and you can present it to us at the next meeting, okay?
Sounds good.
Kendra.
Thank you. Richard, the next item is the Road to Freedom March. Do you have information on that?
Right, so we had received an inquiry from the Historical Society a while back on this, their Road to Freedom March. They weren't able to have it last year, and they had proposed, I misstated the date, I think it's October 16th, right?
No, it's the 17th, but I actually have the Historical Society on, they have their hand raised if you want them.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're done.
Linda, can you hear us?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I can't find the picture, but okay, here I am. Okay. Yes, well, last year we had planned for a regular Road to Freedom event, and we ended up doing a virtual event. So this year when we were planning in February, our committee was very cognizant of the fact that we might still be in COVID mode. So, so we're planning a very shortened form of our event, and we want to have the march, the walk that follows the route of the Revolutionary War soldiers, and I tentatively have an arrangement with our usual fife and drum group, and we think that could be socially distanced reasonably. It's an outdoor event, and we don't know what the requirements will be at the time, but if need be, we would just ask people to socially distance. We could ask people to wear masks if that's the mode then, but it's looking like that won't be the mode. So, that's a possibility. And then the police always escort us. A little piece of the walk is on the street where the reenactors go on the street. And then the police help us cross Broadway and escort us down Broadway. And we cross over where we get back onto the aqueduct. We go back to the Mead House, which is 12 Elm Street. So we circle back, we go down Main Street to Elm Street. So
Okay, I don't think we'll have a problem with this. So, I know it's been a great event. We'd like to keep it going. So I think you're right with the restrictions being lightened and lifted. You don't have a problem with this event, do you?
No, we don't have a problem.
Okay. Oh, great. Okay. So, but I was just going to say that the plan is not to do an event, not to do a program even on the lawn of the Mead House, out of concern for what the COVID situation is. Our restricted event would be that we would just hand out gift bags and prepackaged refreshments when we get to the meat house, so there wouldn't be, a significant gathering even in the lawn there.
Okay.
That's our present mode. Is there somebody in the village that we should check with as we get close to July when we're preparing our publicity as to what the current restrictions are and whether we're meeting them? Or
Yeah, you should email Richard.
Yeah.
Okay, and they'll take care of it for you. Do I need a motion for this, or is it just, do I need to approve this, Laura Lee?
I think we do. And also there's going to be a proclamation.
Right, we're happy to do that.
Yeah, I would take formal action because you're trying to encourage people to come in with, with these kinds of applications. So
Linda, do I need, so I can do this right now, or do I need a formal application first?
I think we should have, you can approve it subject to, but you should have a map or something that depicts where the route's going to go, especially where you all may be familiar with it. I'm not, but especially where it's hitting the streets. I think that's a good document that should be in your file.
yeah, you should know the time between this and this. You should know the estimated number of people. Blah, 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 blah.
We don't have a form for that. Like our forms are usually for the parks. We don't have one for this event, which would be outside the parks.
But we can take it was really raised tonight because they had raised this issue a couple of months ago, but we thought really with all the change in COVID, it was a little premature. But in point of fact, they have to make engagements with the fife and drum and other things that they'd have to commit to. So this was really a conceptual approval this evening. And then if they can send over a letter with the diagram and the map, it can be formally approved at the next meeting. But for purposes of tonight, if you give them the yellow light, then they can feel comfortable going ahead and making the arrangements they need to do.
So does anybody have an objection to this?
It's a great event.
So Linda, if you can just get that information to the village administrator with a copy to Alyssa, that would be great. Okay?
Okay, so diagram and map, and is that it?
Yeah, and the hours and any, numbers of people that you think are going
Yeah.
to be involved. That's
Okay.
all, as much as you know about the event.
Yeah, well, yeah, I have that information on like a program from a previous year, so
Yeah, that's great. That's
send it
perfect.
over.
Great.
Thank you,
Thanks very
Linda.
much.
Okay, action item number 15 is a resolution to appoint the Dolph Rotford engineering firm as the village engineering consultant. I know that they interviewed with the interim village administrator, trustee Patino, and the building inspector, who suggested that they, with us, they met with the majority of the board. I think the majority of the board is satisfied and will rely upon the advice of the people who did the interviews. So is there a motion to appoint Dolph Retfield as the engineering village engineer? Trustee Patino, second. Trustee Cassell, all in favor? That passes unanimously. Thank
And
you.
there is a resolution that will go in the minutes.
Yes. Okay, let's move on to the minutes. Is there any problems or issues with the minutes? Is there a motion to approve the minutes? Trustee Sullivan, second. Trustee Nell, all in favor? That passes unanimously. By the way, I'm referring to the minutes of the meeting of May 11th, 2021. Trustee liaison reports, the zoning board of appeals of meeting on May 12th. Anybody?
I have to admit I'm derelict in my duty in that respect, so I have nothing to report.
Okay. Youth Service Council, May.
The Youth Services Council have a fantastic event last May 13. It was an event with a wonderful speaker that Kelly Foster actually has found for us, and it was about the substance abuse. It was very well attended, and it was actually virtual, and it was a very, very nice chat. We are also looking for volunteers, and we need a chair for our committee, as Justin mentioned before. And also, we are, of course, hiring a coordinator, which we are in the process of interviewing. So if anybody's interested, please send us an email, and it will be great to have some new flavor in the Youth Services Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Maura. Conservation Advisory Board meeting on May 19th.
guilty, another dereliction of duty. Follow up with at the next meeting.
Busy week. AHRB, which I don't, May 24th.
Nothing interesting to report.
Okay. Any announcements? Yes, Donna.
Yes, the Affordable Housing, Dobbs Ferry Talks Housing event, a Zoom event, is on June 2nd at 7 o'clock. The Zoom link can be found on the village website on the Affordable Housing. You go to dobbsferry.com/affordable-housing-task-force. So it's Affordable Housing Task Force with the dash in between each word. And on that page, there will be a link to the Zoom meeting. We encourage all Dobbs Ferry residents to hop on board, because the idea of this meeting is to hear from the community about housing needs, about housing concerns. What do they think we need as far as creating more affordable housing in our village? So Trustee Durowski is on this committee as well. And we just encourage everybody who is interested, because we need your feedback, your input, so that we can create an affordable housing action plan, so that we can go forward with making Dobbs Ferry more affordable for people to come and live, for people to be able to stay here, for the young people who are just leaving college, who can't afford to live here. They have to leave their friends, their family. So for our workforce. So this is all inclusive and for our village. So
I will be passing along flyers and posting some of them around the village, as well as some of our businesses in the downtown. So this is definitely something that we want to pass along. There's a lot of publicity also on Facebook. So if you see the flyer, please share it and make sure that a lot of people are aware of this happening. We have the flyer in English and Spanish. So I'll be knocking on some doors this week, and definitely would love to have everybody support and attendance to get educated about this topic in the village.
Oh, and just to point out, will be a Spanish speaking facilitator at this as well, which we're hosting with Pace University. So.
Okay, I don't want to put you on the spot, Elisa, but can you, I know the Memorial Day ceremony, we're not having a parade. We're all going to have it, but there will be a ceremony at the high school on Memorial Day itself, live. What was the time?
10 a.m.
10 a.m. So everyone should please, if you are in town, please go to the high school at 10 a.m. for the ceremony honoring all the people who've given their lives throughout all our wars that we've gone through. So I'd appreciate it if as many people can attend as possible. Any other announcements?
Did you reach out directly to the scouts about that? Because I know they were interested, but I didn't hear that they were doing something. If not, I can do that.
I think Mr. Florin was going to do that, but we can follow up. And
I can check with them. I already emailed them. I'll just double check that he did and that they're aware of it. That's all.
Tomorrow night, the chamber's having a meeting, and both Richard and the mayor are slated to speak. So if you want to go and listen to all of the wonderful things they have to say, because tonight was not enough, then join them online at about 7 o'clock. rivertownschamber.com.
I also want to say a quick thank you to our DPW department. On Monday and today, we have done some of the planters of the village. And I hope that you guys have had an opportunity to drive by and notice the difference. Of course, are they all fairly fresh? But as they bloom, our village will hopefully look much, much beautiful than it had in the last year. So let me know how you guys like it, but it should be very, very beautiful with all the decor that the restaurants have done with the outdoor dining and the planters and the flags. So thank you to Jen, Steve, and the rest of the crew for all their support and help on this.
Anything else?
Mr. Mayor, tax bills will be going out in the mail, and we collect the entire month of June with no penalties.
Good to know. Thank you. Okay, Lorelei, am I adjourning into an advice of council meeting?
Oh, you're going to close this meeting and then there's a separate link that's gone out that I
Oh, there
sent.
is? Oh,
I can resend it, but yes, I
yeah,
think you
please
should,
resend it, please.
you should close this meeting and then we can enter into a meeting for purposes of obtaining advice of counsel.
Okay, so is there a motion to adjourn this meeting? Trustee Nell, second. Trustee Sullivan, all in favor. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.